It has been half a year since the first CS2 LAN was played, and since then there have been plenty of roster moves resulting in some players finding new form and thriving, while others have had the opposite effect and have continually struggled to adapt to the new game. So in this video we'll be taking a look at a few players and comparing their last 6 months of Global Offensive versus their first 6 months of CS2. By the end of CSGO, many people were ready to count out Brolan. He was once one of the fastest rising prodigies during his time of Fnatic.
That fight. Oh dear. Things are arriving. So it's... With just the CZ! He's dead!
But ever since his move to NIP, he failed to impress anybody and he eventually wound up on the bench. Brolan was beginning to be known as a Krieg abuser who had fallen off over time, and for someone who was still so young, it was such a shame to see just how much his performance had dipped. After a little over a month on the bench, he was asked to fill in the empty slot on Mao since Froden had left to join FaZe Clan. Immediately upon entering the team, Brolan fit right in, and under the leadership of Sui, he has excelled in his position, having a complete 180 from how he was performing in NIP. One standout match Brolan had was against Cloud9 and IEM Katowice 2024. Brolan was having a very rough first and second half, but woke up in overtime and by the end of the match had the most damage done on his team. Brolan was a key factor in winning that match and has been crucial to the continued success of Mao's. And what Brolan failed to do after 1.5 years at NIP, he has accomplished in just a few months in Mao's, as they have just won ESL Pro League Season 19 and are now seated at number 2 in the world behind FaZe Clan and number 1 according to ESL. Another player who's been dominant in 2024 is Insani. Even before the transition to CS2, Insani was dominating the Brazilian scene, and MIBR even had a few playoff exits and smaller lands with tier 1 competition last year. And now that Furia have been taking in results, I would argue that MIBR are the best Brazilian team right now. The current success of MIBR can be linked back to Insani, who seems to be unable to have a bad game win or lose. And while MIBR couldn't win Esports Pro Rio against the Brazilian competition, they took the victory at ESL Challenger Melbourne, performing an insane comeback against Apex on Nuke and then a 13-0 on the deciding map to even make the finals, where MIBR won against Aurora, with Insani top fragging along the way the entire time. Insani's outstanding performance earned him his first MVP award, and because of this victory we should expect to see MIBR at ESL Pro League Season 20. If Insani can maintain this level of performance, I see MIBR in the conversation for at least a run to the playoffs. IGLs are not known for fragging, but when today you have IGLs who can hold well above their weight and deliver some insane rounds, from young minds like Sui to even older ones like Kerrigan, you never know when an IGL is going to activate. So it makes Snappy's drop off in performance even more noticeable. Prior to CS2 and joining Falcons, Snappy would put up decent numbers against top competition and even had the occasional pop-off game. But ever since joining Team Falcons, he fails to ever be in the green, and to make matters worse, Falcons have one of the worst win percentages of any tier 1 team. As I'm writing this script though, Falcons have actually just beat Virtus Pro in a best of 3 to secure semifinals at Betboom Dasha Belgrade. You should never read too much into a single match, but could this be a turning point for Team Falcons considering this is their first playoffs with not just a new lineup, but since IEM Katowice? Or is this the result of Electronic still not being comfortable under the passive Virtus Pro system? While some players have fit right into teams, others have had issues adapting to their new team environment as easily. Take Mezzi for example. On Fnatic, Mezzi was more often than not their best player even while he was leading the team. But now on Vitality, he's sitting beside the likes of Zybu, Spinks, and Flamesy. He's no longer the start of the team, and it seems he's not well adjusted to his new anchor positions. The team found initial success upon his arrival, but the honeymoon phase is over and Vitality's results have stagnated as they have failed to win anything during the first half of 2024. Vitality have proven success with this version of the roster, but in series where they lose, Mezzi can be found near the bottom of the leaderboard, so hopefully for the team's sake, he begins to find more comfort in his roles and can unlock his full potential once again. Another player who struggled on his new team is none other than Ima. You never really know what you're going to get with Ima. Sometimes he shows glimpses of his old gamer league himself.
They know that he's in this area somewhere. They're just not quite sure where. Blows open the smoke. We'll find Monacy. He needs 2 more kills to try and get this quad. Clutch it for his team. He has a chance for it. They're both very low on health on top of the smoke. Oh! Ima picking up 1 more now. Spinning around. And my God, he's done it.
But then other times he looks as though he doesn't really know what he's doing. And much like Mezzi, can be a contributing factor as to why they lose certain matches. Obviously losses don't fall on just one player, but when your IGL is out-fragging you, you know that you have to step up your game. Ima has stated that he'd rather be at the bottom of a winning team than at the top of a losing team. And although winning the major is a huge achievement, especially so early in the player's career, there are more events in the year than just the major, with almost the same amount of prestige. So let's see if Navi can continue winning or if Copenhagen really was just a one-off. The last player I want to highlight in this video is Liege. By the end of his time on Team Liquid, it was evident that Liege was not having a fun time. Death slams and frustration were all visible, and so Elige made the decision to leave Team Liquid and join another NA org, Complexity. On Complexity he replaced Fang, and now Elige is playing some of his best CS, being the top player on the team. They made grand finals of IEM Sydney, and since then there has been a noticeable drop in their event placings. Time will tell if Hazard still ends up being replaced. Considering they just made EPL playoffs, I suspect it all boils down to how the team ends up doing at IEM Dallas. One thing is for certain though, Elige is here to stay and help lead NA back to the top, while Liquid seem to be heading down a path of struggle. The Counter-Strike scene is ever evolving, and with CS2 being so early in its life cycle, you never know who has the potential to be a breakout star. And if there's anybody who you think I missed, be sure to say who in the comments. I'd love to hear about the players who have impressed or failed to impress you thus far.